Hey everyone, and welcome to this month's virtual happy hour. We are currently being photobombed by fire. We're gonna need you to move, dude. Literally anywhere else. Welcome to the chaos that is my life. So I'm gonna go ahead and get me a cocktail. Hopefully, you have something here to relax, right? Let me pop open the chat. Hey, Candace, great here to see you live. So if you want to come live and want me to be able to see your name, I'm going to put up on here a little chat. And if you are on Facebook, go to chat.restream.io/Facebook. It's going to give them permission for me to be able to see what you guys are posting, your name. On YouTube, it lets me do it automatically. So up to you. You can also be anonymous. Anonymous is fun too. So I'm going to take a little hint from Terry DiMarino. She's classy and does wine. I am doing a Cosmo in a bottle. I'm okay with that. Oh, thank you, Candace. Candace said cute top. I love this top. It's like super cute and comfy. Big fan. So this is Cosmo on the rocks. We're going to drink it in wine because it's just easier and I can hopefully not let the cat knock it over. So guys, I am all yours for the next hour. If you have questions you've wanted me to answer or topics you kind of wanted me to talk a little bit about, I am all yours. So I'm going to go ahead and pop open some of the questions I know some of you guys had sent me. And I want to encourage you guys that if you don't feel confident coming on live with me and asking these questions directly, don't be afraid to message me on Facebook or on Instagram. I am more than happy to go ahead and support you guys. So let me go ahead and pop open. I know all this jazz, right? Did anyone go to New England? I just came back from New England. That was really fun. It was a very good time. And I'm not going to lie. I'm really looking forward to going to Fun in the Sun for two main reasons. One is that I really want to go to Disney and be able to write it off. And the other thing, hey, Elizabeth, great to see you here. I'm not going to Dallas, boo, but I think I'll see you. Are you going to Fun in the Sun? I'm excited for it. Pet Pro. Yes, I'm going to see you there then. I'm not going to lie. I might go to Disney more often than I should, but I'm going to have a lot of fun. So I'm just popping open the questions. And I'm trying to do this one-handed too, which is always fun. But like I said, if you guys have specific questions and you're here live, you will always get priority. And if there are things that you feel like you want to ask or want me to go on a little bit of a rant on, I'm also more than happy to do that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and type in the chat the question. So this is the question that I got. And it was, what is the best way to tell someone that their dog or their cat, whoever you're grooming, is much more than you quoted? So in a perfect world, whenever you're having a scenario like this, right? And in a perfect world, what happens is that, maybe you had sent them an email or maybe you kind of gave them an overview of how much something should be. And the dog comes in the door, the cat comes in the door, and it is way worse than you thought it was. You're like, oh, it's a lab mix and then it's a labradoodle, right? Or he's got some knots and tangles and he's just crazy matted. Or maybe they're like, oh, he nibbles. And all of a sudden you realize, oh no, like he's Cujo. So I think the most important thing to do there is to have a little bit of an adult conversation, right? Is to say, I wish I hadn't quoted you over the phone. This is going to be significantly more. And you can use the word significantly in that chance, right? If it's going to be double, if it's going to be a lot more. And let's clarify. A lot of times you guys go, oh my God, it's going to be so much more. It's going to be $10 or $20 more. $10 or $20 more on a groom that's less than 50, 60 bucks is not a lot more, right? I don't know about you guys, but that's, when I went to New England, I picked up myself, my mother, and my sister. I picked up 3 Starbucks coffees. It was $24. It was great. I was like, oh wow, like that was a lot more than I expected, because I'm used to mine being 6 or 7. And I thought, okay, it shouldn't be much more, right? But they got sandwiches, they got all these things. I expected to pay, probably $10 or $15, and I paid $10 more, which is about, right, 40% more than I expected. That's a lot more. So if you're looking at 40, 50, 100% more, right? So if you quoted them $100, it's going to be $150. You need to have that adult conversation. And there's so many different ways of doing that. First and foremost, I would apologize to them and be like, you know what? I'm really sorry. And this is where you have an opportunity, right, to evaluate. Should you reevaluate your policies? Should you not give quotes over the phone? Should you give people a wider range of that? But I would tell them, and I would say, you know what? Thinking about it, I really can't give you this quote over the phone. I really cannot honor this price, right? It's going to be significantly more work. I can give you a better quote now that I see Fluffy in person, but I don't want you to be surprised. And then I would give them a wider range, right? So again, let's say a little Shih Tzu comes in, they gave you a picture of the last time it was groomed and told you, oh, he was just groomed 6 weeks ago. But when they said he was groomed 6 weeks ago, what they mean is that they had, bathed him at a self dog wash 6 weeks ago, right? So you're sitting there looking at this dog that hasn't been groomed in 6 months, right? Professionally groomed in 6 months, and he's aggressive, and you might have to go a lot higher. So I know I'm a little all over the place, but there's so many avenues to go there, right? First and foremost, accept the fact that you messed up and tell them that. Be like, I'm very sorry. This is significantly more work than I anticipated. And then I would offer them, if it's not something you're willing to pay for, I understand. We can, just walk away. You can go to another groomer. I totally understand. I know you'll be disappointed, but I don't want you to feel pressure to do the service. And 9 times out of 10, that's going to be your better option, to let them walk away, unless if they're like, no, you're right. And if it was like a breed thing where they said it was a lab mix and it comes in, it's a Labradoodle, that's an opportunity for you to go, we generally go by the dog that is closest to in coat type. When you had mentioned he was a lab mix, I expected a short, close to the body hair. When I look at him, he has a closer to a poodle coat, or he has closer to a Portuguese water dog coat. You don't have to use the breed the dog is. You can say it's closer to a legato coat, right? Like, this would have been a wiser comparison if you had told me. And you can do that not condescendingly and be like, that's okay. I understand. I'm the professional. You may not have known that your breed looks closer to this other breed, and therefore it's going to be more work. I would never in a million years start working on a dog until you have at least given them a ballpark answer. Now, that is also very different than if you post all of your prices online and they never asked you for a quote. But if you have misquoted them, right? If you have misquoted them, you do have to take responsibility for that. I don't think in this day and age we have to groom the dog anyway at the price we were told them. This is not a situation where they said it was a pug mix and you expect a 30-pound dog to come in and it's, 100-pound, bull mastiff. And you're like, that is not, oh, he's a boxer pug mix. No, that is a bull mastiff man, right? So you don't have to do that, but you do need to gently set your boundaries with that. You do need to say, hey, this is not okay. We're not going to do this. So I hope that helps. I think that's the main thing. Now, on the flip side, if that dog has already gone into the back, if you, poor groomer, someone checked in that dog, right? And it's in the back, and ideally it hasn't been bathed, it hasn't been prepped, then I would call the owner. And I would say, ideally on a recorded line, things like dial pad, and there's so many other services that have recording. And I would prefer it if it had recording, because then you can agree on things, right? And then it's like, no, I did call you and I did let you know. And again, like my state is a one side recording state. However, there are, with these recording ones like Dialpad, you can have it say, this will be recorded for quality assurance. And again, then I have proof, just the same as text, but they get to hear me talking to them like a person with respect, right? Hey, 80, great to see you. So with that, right, I would call them and I would say, hey, I just got the dog in the back. I am Susie Q. I'm the one who's going to be working on Fluffy. I know you checked in with Samantha, and I know Samantha meant really well. But when I got Fluffy in the back, I noticed XYZ123. And I want to be honest with you, this is a lot more work than I was anticipated. And I wanted to come to you because I want to be partners in taking care of Fluffy. And we have a few options here, right? And that's where you have the opportunity of saying, we can make this less work, things like shaving the coat down, insert thing that's going to make this less work and be closer to the quote. Or, I can, it could be, I can work on, I know it depends so much on the breed. But let's say, for instance, it's a dog that is really matted. Now, you do dematting, and not everyone does anymore. My superpower is I can demat anything. I hate that superpower because I don't want to demat shit. So that's not my favorite, but that is my superpower. I don't know why I was given it. So I would have been like, I can demat this. I'm not going to cause some pain. I can do what I used to call a Christmas miracle. And I can get these knots and tangles out. If he's upset, we're going to end the session. If there's any pain, we're going to end the session. I'm not putting your pet through any kind of torture for hair. Hair grows back. But I can do this and see how he feels. And if you're okay with that, we can do that. This is the minimum it's going to be, and it can go up to this. And I want something that they go, yes, I understand. Cool. And that is going to really help you have that conversation. But I think the worst thing you can do is wait for them to come back and then argue price. I think part of the thing with the grooming industry is we don't really want to have arguments. And I get that. I don't want to have arguments either, right? But it's like a mechanic. I don't want to come pick up my car and then for you to tell me it was significantly more work than you thought it was. And sometimes there are miscommunications. I remember one time I have a diesel, so, I had made the appointment. I had told them it's a diesel. I had explained it. They knew it was a diesel. I made the appointment. I got the quote. And I was like, wow, it's a really good price for a diesel oil change, blah, 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 And then when I got there, whoever it was that booked the appointment for the diesel oil change didn't know what they were talking about. And of course, as a person, I'm like that. I'm pissed off because I was told $100 for an oil change. I'm like, damn, that's basically the cost of the oil. I'm like, oh, that's a good deal. And then that mechanic had to say to me, like, no, this is going to be closer, like $200. And I'm like, well, for $200, I'm going to go back to where I used to go because they were charging me $150. Now, is that bad? No, because the only reason I was going there is because it was a quote unquote good deal. And for you guys, what you forget is if that's the only reason that they're choosing you, that's not long-term loyalty. That's not long-term brand loyalty. You don't really want those clients that are coming to you because you're a good deal. You want them to come to you either because of the services that you offer, because of your branding, because of something special about you and your services. So if someone in your business underquoted, whether that's you, whether that is a receptionist, maybe it was even your mom, right? I don't know about you guys, but I've definitely had times in my life where as a solopreneur, when I was really small, You might have had somebody, your husband, somebody answer the phone and they were like, oh, a Shih Tzu, like a little dog, no big deal, right? They didn't ask the questions they should have asked. And the goal is to get better. The goal is, this is painful. I don't want to do this again, right? So we do the thing that sucks. We learn the lesson, and then we figure out how we're going to fix our business in the future so we don't have to go through the pain again, right? I'd rather not have this conversation ever again. I would really like to not do that, right? And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to figure out a way to never have to do this again. So I hope that helps. So I'm going to go through the other questions that I was received before. But like I said, if you guys are here live and you would like me to answer your question live, I am more than happy to do that. All you've got to do is put that in the chat. You can put that in the chat via YouTube or on Facebook. If you are putting it in via Facebook and you want me to say your name, you can go to chat.restream.io/Facebook. And what that's going to do is it's going to let me see your name if you haven't already signed up with that. So let me go ahead. Oh, looks like Candace has a question. So Candace says, what if you didn't realize it was going to be more? Then you call them to tell them that it is more. They say, I'm not paying for that. Do you charge an incomplete grooming appointment? So that's a great question. So to be clear, and again, Candace, like, it does depend upon your business model. So someone like Candace is mobile, right? So when you're mobile, sometimes you don't know till you're in the thick of it. At least a shop, like, it's a little bit more relaxed. But if I have driven my $100,000 van into your driveway, I would like to groom your pet. I really don't want to miss this appointment. Or let's say, for instance, you didn't know the dog was going to become a psycho the second you touched his feet, or you hit his murder button, and all of a sudden he does this the entire time. You didn't know that, right? Or, and again, a lot of like the coat stuff, I feel like we need to be more thoroughly checking pets. If I can't my feeling was when I was grooming is I would take a Greyhound comb and I would put in the coat. If I cannot get that comb through the entire dog, it's matted. That was our point of it's matted. Now, sometimes we're saying the scope of work is significantly more, and that's where we do have to get better at charging much higher. And that's where we do need to get really good at having that wide range and knowing what our services will be. Everyone is so different. So, Candace, if you want to give me a more specific example, I think that would be more helpful, because of course I can start pulling at things. Like an example could be, and again, Candace, if you want to give me an example, I can answer that exactly the way I would do that, knowing your business and knowing your brand, give you a little mini coaching moment. But let's say you have a dog that's completely impacted. Let's say you have a Samoyed, completely impacted. Like, the dog looks like polar bear roadkill, right? That dog is jacked up. Now, you need to know your skill set. You need to know realistically what's going on. And a lot of that does take being honest with yourself, being honest with your skill set, being honest with the products you have, being honest with a lot of things, right? I find a lot of people kind of wing it. And then when they're winging it, they get in too deep, right? Like, someone will not know how to completely, demat, de-shed an impacted triple coated dog. That person is going to greatly undercharge. And so there's different ways to go about this. If you have a dog that you're like, I honestly have no idea what this is going to charge, I would be honest with someone and be like, this is my daily rate. This dog is a daily rate. Say your daily rate's $500 or $600. Be like, very honestly, your dog could be an entire daily rate, which is $500 to $600, right? Now, let's say you're halfway through the dog and you realize that it is more work than you realized. And that's where I'm going to be a little mean, a little harsh. You as the professional, right? And I'm not talking like you find like a hornet's nest of fleas, or, I'm trying to think of like examples, or like there's like maggots in the coat. I'm not talking about that. I mean, but if you had looked at a coat and you were like, this is 3 to 5 hours worth of work, and you only quoted 3, you as the professional have to eat that, unfortunately. And that's where we have to be very careful when we are quoting people. If it is something that we should have assumed, right? If we should have assumed, like if I have a completely impacted samoyed and I know that it normally takes me 3 hours, right? Or, most of a day's worth of time to do the samoyed. And I don't quote that. And I don't go, okay, it could be this or this. And that's where, again, I love consultation grooms. So this is what Candace wrote back. She wrote, I'm usually pretty good about checking in the client, but I'm sure there's the occasional client that is not there in person. Well, that's another question too. Are they a regular client or are they a new client? New clients, that's why I like consultation groups. That's why consultation groups should, in a perfect world, be about 1.5 to 2 times your initial groom. So if my worst case scenario Samoyed is $500, I would tell them it's going to be between $200, I should say like $300 and $500. Or tell them right off the bat, a new Samoyed is $500. And then if you come back in 4 weeks, it'll only be 2, right? And then if I get there and that dog is in primo shape, right, I might say, you know what? I loved Fluffy so much today. It's still going to be the 500, but I'm going to comp. If you do a bath in 4 weeks, I will comp that bath, right? So I'm not giving them back money. I'm applying that money to the next groom. Or if you don't feel like doing that and you want to just comp that there, you can always say, a new Samoyed is normally 500. Fluffy was just in such an amazing shape and I'm going to only charge you, I would still say 300 because unless if that dog is done again, 100% every 4 weeks by a professional who knows what they're doing, right? They're going to need more work than expected. But I think if it's an us thing, if it's our fault and our responsibility that we quoted wrong, we do need to eat that in the sense that there's a big difference between I didn't see the dog, I didn't put my hands on the dog, right? And I put my hands on the dog, I looked at the dog, and I'm wrong. So if you have a new client who comes in and you had quoted them over the phone and they're not there because you'll see a lot of you guys are mobile. And and that's it. And you get there in the van and you're looking at the dog and you haven't started, hopefully. You're just checking the dog over. The owner's not there. And again, an owner should be there for a first appointment. But let's say for shits and giggles they're not. That's where you have that adult conversation where you're like, hey, this dog is in much more intense condition than I expected. This is not what we agreed to. This needs to change. However, if you have clipped that dog's nails, put it in the tub, you're halfway through blow drying it, and it's way more work than you're worth, that is professional oversight. And again, and if it's a client that's not done every 4 weeks, that's where I teach you guys to charge more per week, right? And again, that should be based upon the haircut and the time, care, and attention. So a lot of you guys will hear me say you should do a consultation groom if it's been more than 8 weeks. Why? Because I don't know what that dog looks like in 8 weeks. After 4 weeks, right? I don't know what that dog's going to look like. That dog could have been swimming in a saltwater pool all September, and you should come in October and the dog is matted, right? But at least then it's been a month. If it's been 2 months, if it literally spent all of August, all of September swimming in that same pool, that dog is a 10 strip. At 4 weeks, I might be able to save it. At 8 weeks, there's no hope, right? And so this is where we've got to kind of understand our role as the professional, right? It's our role to guide them. And it can be uncomfortable. But again, that's where we have to take a little bit of responsibility. However, if you talk to them and you just had them groomed 4 weeks ago, let's say, and that dog gets, let's say they wanted something really fluffy, really high maintenance, right? It's also up to us to start setting those boundaries. Hey, if you want this haircut, he needs to be professionally maintained every 2 weeks. So if you guys saw Fire, my Persian cat, he wouldn't let me start. I was like trying to move him and he has decided he must be in the way. He actually really loves this ring light. He's like, halo. So he is getting longer. And if I get him much at this length that he's at, he must be bathed and blow dried every 2 weeks. If he's not, he will have hairballs. He will, get matted. And he is a jerk. He is a jerk for combing. He is not a line cut candidate. He is not tolerant of being shaved. He can get a comb cut, but he is terrible for a line cut. So because of that, what we have to do is we have to make a decision. Either he's going to get a bath and blow dry every week, or he needs to go shorter. And so we have to make these decisions as professionals. We have to guide the client. And when the client doesn't listen to us, it's up to us to either set a boundary, whether that is a financial boundary or I'm not going to do that with you. And that's not fun. And especially, Candace, she's moved to a new area that has a different demographic of people who are not as willing to spend money as the last place. It might be a harder conversation, and they might be more used to bullying people. There's places that I don't want to say like they're cheap places, but there's definitely, there's nothing wrong with the South. But when I was in South Carolina, it was really interesting how things were cheaper, but the way that money was treated was very different, in just general things, like little things like, up north, I asked for my drink to go. If I had asked for like a soda to go or a coffee to go, let's say I was having breakfast and I asked for a coffee to go, they would charge me for a to-go coffee on top of the coffee that I had. And while that might seem really insignificant, like down south, they would just put the coffee in a cup to go. That's a cultural thing. When you think about that, if you're going to use a cup, it's a different product, right? Versus putting that same coffee in a to-go cup is the same. So that's where culturally it's very different. So when you're talking about services, it's also, I would feel more comfortable when I was down south, even though it was cheaper, kind of negotiating things, because it's like, well, it's cheaper to live here, so maybe there's more wiggle room. Versus when things are expensive, it's easier for you to sit there and go, listen, I got bills to pay, right? So I do think sometimes people feel more comfortable kind of pushing the envelope to see where you'll go. And I don't really mind when people ask for discounts. I don't mind it at all. I just tell them yes or no. And I will generally ask them why. That's actually a great thing, Let's do that. I know. Now I'm making my own questions. So what should you do if people ask for discounts, right? So the first thing I generally try to do is ask them why. Why do they want a discount, or why do they think they deserve a discount? Not in a nasty way, like in a genuine, curious way. You say, oh, can I ask why you want a discount? And this kind of takes them off guard first, but it really helps because then I either get to educate them or I get to see their perspective. Because sometimes I'm like, you know what, actually, yeah, I could see why you would think that would be fair. Like I remember at my shop, people would be like, oh, I want a discount because they would have like, let's say 5 dogs, right? Be like, oh, well, can I get a discount? And I'd be like, oh, why do you want a discount? And they'd be like, oh, well, I have 5 dogs. It's so expensive. Da, 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 da. And at my shop, I would be like, well, so, it's actually harder for us to plan for you to have 5 dogs. So we have 5 dogs all at once versus 5 dogs over an hour and 15 minutes because we just have an appointment about every 15 minutes. Hey, stranger. So if I'm getting 5 dogs in at once, it's actually more work for us. And if you have to reschedule, it's harder for us to fill a spot with 5 dogs versus if we had 5 individual customers that maybe would have, we would have 1 or 2 rescheduled, but if you reschedule, it's actually more. And in that instance, I got to share with the customer how our businesses work, or my business, I should say, right? And they could be like, oh, I could see why that would actually be more work. Now, being mobile, they might be like, oh, well, you only have to make 1 stop. And that's where I may say again, yes, but if I have, again, that also means that I'm not getting breaks in between 5 dogs. Normally after every 2 or 3 dogs, which is the way I used to do mobile, after every 2 or 3 dogs, I make a coffee run or I make a potty break for myself. maybe I take a little 15-minute, decompressing, but 5 dogs in a row, yes, I'm not moving my van. However, I'm also not getting breaks really in between the dogs. Um, it's instead of being able to use my batteries with my van, I'm going to have to idle my van because, depending upon the time of day, if they're the only house, I probably wouldn't need to idle. But if I had 1 or 2 other homes before them, it's going to be at least 6 hours, right, of battery time, which is without driving in between. So that's where, again, I would just gently tell them, I would gently teach them, right? And a lot of times people go, oh, that makes sense. Or they might be, still argumentative. I had one woman that had this evil cat, and I liked the cat. I respected the cat's individuality. His name was Polly, and he'd put groomers in, groomers to the vet, you know what I mean? Groomers to the doctor. Like he was aggressive, very aggressive. And he was a rag doll. And long story short, she wanted a discount. And when I asked her why, she had told me that even though they had a big house, having a big house meant they had really high electricity. And just because they lived in a nice area didn't mean they had a lot of money. And that's where I got to tell her that, yes, even though she had a big house and even though it was in a very expensive area, that she's like, well, we just, we have a big mortgage, we have a lot of debt, which really isn't any of my business. But again, it's okay for them to tell you that. I don't care. And I was like, well, just so you know, we charge the same for this other area, which is called Pawtucket in my area, which is very poor. I had one lady who had spent over $1,000 a month on her cats. And I told her that. I said, listen, I have another woman who has, 6 Persians, and she spends over $1,000 a month, and she's in Pawtucket. And, we don't charge more or less because we're here. We charge based on the service. And again, that gave her an opportunity because she assumed that we were, quote unquote, charging her more or holding her to a different standard because of where she lived. So I don't mind if people ask for discounts. I just gently ask them why. And I think a lot of us have been a little abused gently, a little doormat action going on there. So we have to we feel like we have to validate those feelings and push back and be like, bada. But there's no value in that. I know you want to, but it's not generally good for you. I get told all the time things like, oh my God, your classes are so expensive. They're so this, they're so that. I'm like, listen, if you don't value what I have to offer, that's okay. It's perfectly fine. I have 200 hours on YouTube for free. That's okay. I'm not offended. And I think when we're in our power, we'll find that we're not offended. When we're in our power, we're really okay with the decisions that we make. It's when we're feeling attacked. And again, when you're in a place of power, you don't feel attacked by people that don't really matter to you. So I just want to, give you that little bit there because I know sometimes it's hard. I know sometimes it's really easy on the other end of this healing journey and finding out where that it's easy to say that, right? It's really easy for me to sit here from a position of power and say, yeah, I don't care. Okay, that's fine. Sorry you feel that way. But it does take time. It does take effort. It does take intentionally choosing that path, right? In order to get there. And I know that's easier said than done. But you just got to keep at it. You have to feel confident in what you do. And most of us are not hurting for customers. We need significantly more groomers. Young sir, do not fall. Excuse you. So, a little bit of that. So, I'm going to go ahead and keep looking for more questions. If you guys have questions, he's going to jump and knock all my stuff. That is not a place you're supposed to be at. Goofy cat, what are you going to do? Sell them. So I'm going to look for our next question. Again, if you guys are here live and you want your question answered, you are more than welcome to put your question up. In the meantime, I'm going to go back through my Facebook messages and find those. I know. It's so nice to see you, Mindy. Okay, that's a great question. And I'm going to pop open, see if that was asked on, I'm not sure where that was asked, but wherever it was, it's a great question. What's the best way to raise prices? So it really depends on how much you're going to be raising them. Now, we are going to be doing a price increase masterclass live starting October 19th. If you guys are interested, go to, I don't know if I have it. I'm like the worst at selling things. I know. It's funny. Here I am telling you guys what to do, right? I'm like, you do this. So let me hit that button, see if I can get that up and running. Yeah, so if you guys are interested, the Price Increase Masterclass Live is going to be live October 19th, and we're going to be doing it for 6 weeks live. I'm really excited. So there's that. Anyway, so what's the best way to raise prices? So you should be raising your prices every year. It's so much easier to raise your prices $5 a year than it is to raise your prices $20 every 4 years. Now, if you're going to have to raise your prices $20, $30, $40 per small dog, then you need to start doing things like layering. You need to start deciding, are you going to raise everyone all at once? So many different ways. We're actually going to have a tip come out with a few ways of doing that. So let me actually pull that up. If it'll let me be a good computer. Because I have, there's different ways of doing it, right? So you can move only to premium services. So cut out all of your base services. So instead of being like, oh, it's a $20 add-on to do this, just charge the $20 add-on and everyone gets it, and get rid of that below thing. I also think that it makes more sense anyway. I think that every dog, if you believe that every dog should use conditioner, there's no reason to offer a service without conditioner. Right? If you believe that every dog needs an upgraded shampoo, then I would use that on every dog. I don't think most of us are doing what we used to do. I think that they're such a waste of time, money, and energy. So, and what I would personally do, and again, if you're doing it would be layering. So it might be asking people, what do you love most about my services, and getting that feedback. That way that I can start highlighting the values that I have for them, reminding them why they chose us, right? Highlighting those values. And then when I let them know I'm raising prices, I'm going to also, when I ask them what they love about our business, I'm also going to find out what is the way that they prefer to be communicated with. Do they prefer phone calls? Do they prefer letters in the mail? Do they prefer text messages? Because I want to present them that information in whatever way they're going to best hear it. I hate phone calls. So the last way I want to be told something is via phone call. I would prefer a text. So that would be somewhere where I would send them to, be like, hey, just so you know, we're going to be doing an update. I would send a positive spin, send them to a website link. And that website link would be to a letter discussing, and we have many different examples in the Price Increase Masterclass, discussing why in a healthy way, not in a explanatory way, but just in a supportive way, right? The best way I can explain it is, if someone says to me, why do you have short hair? I'm not going to go into the whole thing. I'm just going to be like, you know what? I'm just in a season of life where this is easier. Maybe I'll grow it out. All right. I've explained it, but I haven't justified it, if that makes sense. But I'm going to hold on to, I'm not going to send them a physical letter most of the time, because if I change my mind about anything I put in there, I want to take it back. If I'm doing huge increases, 100 or 200% price increase for some people, I'm going to write them a different letter than those people who are only going up $5. So there's so many different ways. So what I hate is that there's general what is good for the industry, and I talk in that sense, and then there is on a microcosm what is good for you or the individual groomer, right? And it's hard because when I talk to other industry professionals, like at trade shows, I'm talking about the industry. But then when I talk to you guys, I tend to talk to you and what works best for you, because what works best for the industry may or may not be best for your individual thing. If you're going up 200% on all of your clients, then no, you should not be sending them an email, right? But if you're only going up $5, then an email is more than enough. Okay, next question. Best way to deal with clients who get really upset raising their price. So whenever someone gets really upset, I always want to take a step back and ask myself, are they normally upset? Are they the kind of person that gets upset no matter what? Is this like their personality? Or is this somebody who is, is this somebody that it's out of character? And I think sometimes you have to remember that some people are going to be upset no matter what you do. And if they're upset no matter what I do, I have to say this is not my soulmate client, right? That's like if I had a date. My dating analogies, I know. If I had a date, right, and they're upset about the restaurant, is the restaurant really bad, or are they just really fussy, right? Are they really pointing out something that matters, or are they just unreasonable? I don't worry about unreasonable people. Just fire them, right? In the moment, just say, I'm really sorry to hear that you're upset. That was not my intention to upset you. Maybe we should both cool off and discuss this later, right? So when they're really upset, that's my first question. And again, it could be they feel like they're losing you. They could have abandonment wounds. They could have all kinds of childhood shit that you're just stirring up accidentally, right? You could be whipping up their crazy. I'm that person sometimes. You're whipping up my crazy. But if it's not who they are, right, then I'm going to say something along the lines of, and again, it depends exactly what they're saying. So if they're upset and they say, that's very expensive, or I would just say to them, no, it's not. No, it's not. Right? They're saying something so pointed like that. I'm going to gently and firmly say, no, it's not. It's a fair value for the services I offer. And I'm really sorry you don't feel that way. And again, I'm not going to argue with them. If someone is getting really emotional, and I think sometimes we want a logical solution to an emotional problem. When someone's being upset, you have to ask yourself, are they being logical or is this emotional? And trying to logic your way out of somebody who is being emotional is a losing battle. It is a losing battle. I lost 19 clients 1 month due to pets and owner's death. 19, well, here's the thing. 19 clients could be a lot of people or not a lot of people. When I had my shop, we had about 2,000 people. We groom 40 dogs a day, right? 19 people is very normal. If you have 100 people, that's still not a lot of people, right? That's still not a lot of people. So that's 20%, which sounds like a lot, right? It sounds like a lot, but it's not. If you have a client list of 50 people, that is a lot. So I think a lot of times we need to do is we need to write down how many people we want specifically, right? So we need to really sit down and say to ourselves, how many clients do I want in the end? Do I want 100? Do I want 100 monthly clients? Okay, so I lost 19 people. Cool. So if I want 100 monthly clients, how many people do I have in our 4 weeks? Okay, well, I have 50 people, but then I have another 50 on 6 weeks. Cool. So then how do I get all those people either on 4-week schedules, or how do I release those 6-week people or replace them to those 4-week people? So I raised a client $10. You think I raised $100? I actually have a video called "How to Lose a Client Over $5." And I think that's what's funny, is that a lot of you guys think it's about the dollar amount, and it's about the way we make them feel. I'm not saying you made her feel anyway, right? I'm not saying, or maybe not intentionally made them feel. And this is where, depending upon what that is, I'm going to start layering value. I'm going to start reminding them why they chose me. I'm going to look at, what do I love to do? Why do I love to do it? And how do I start creating that value again? How do I start reconnecting with what makes me special? And it's never the fucking haircut. Don't say that, guys. Every time I hear you guys say, I give the best haircut. Few you do. My competition people, I love you. Chef's kiss. But most of you guys are not, right? Most of you guys are not. That's not why they pick you. And if they are picking you that way, those are the most vain people. They are really tough cookies to deal with, right? So I will say that. But why do they pick you? Is it because of your education level? Is it because you make them feel safe? Is it because you make their pet feel loved? Right? When people are upset over $10, it's because you forgot to make it about value and you made it about a dollar amount. And some people are looking for a reason to leave you. It's kind of like when, again, my terrible dating analogies, you know, it's really hard, right? Because you'll hear some people say, I don't want to like be dating somebody. And they'll be like, what I really want to do is be their girlfriend. And if I ask for commitment, they're going to leave. It's like, right. So if you had asked for an extra date, if you asked for anything, if you have no longer, if the reason they chose you is because you're convenient, or if they chose you because you hit a magical number in their head that they felt was fair, and the second you're a dollar over, it's not, well, then they didn't pick you because you were the right fit. They picked you either because you were convenient or because you were the right price. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be picked because I'm the right price. I want you to pick me because you like me and you trust me and you think what I do is great. If it's about the dollars and not the values, you've already lost them. It doesn't matter if it's a dollar more. Okay. So she feels like she feels slighted. I told her I was hoping, you can't, I'm hoping to stay on $100. And once the raise took place. Yeah. So this is right. So she says she felt slighted. So if someone said to me, I feel slighted, I would say, why do you feel that you were slighted? So she feels like you're picking on her. And I've had people like that too, right? Where they feel like you're picking on them. I wouldn't have said I was hoping to stay on $100. I would just, if you want to play, the problem is too, is a lot of you guys, instead of just ripping the Band-Aid off and jumping to $20, you do the jig, the like, I don't want to go up too high because they're all going to leave me and they're all going to leave me anyway. And I didn't get the amount of money I needed. At least if you had gone up to $20, So again, gently, firmly. If someone said, I feel slighted, I'd be like, I'm so sorry to hear you feel that way. Can you tell me why? Right? And she can always answer it. There's no point, right? Someone like that, it's not rational. That's an emotional. If I went to Walmart and it went $10 more for a bag of dog food, I don't feel slighted. She's making it personal about her. But you saying you want to stay under $100, you don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that, right? I mean, that you're just cheapening yourself. If I said, like, that would be like if I want to be a wife, right? And I'm like, I don't, I want to be a girlfriend, but I don't need to be a wife. I'm trying to like be fair and trying to give you time. No, it's okay. You deserve to make a living wage. This is a hard ass job, right? You want to do it. I deal with your bratty dogs and love them anyway. And again, and this is also too where you can't be emotionally involved with the client, right? I treat her dog right. So if, again, do you trust me? Yeah, I trust you. Okay, well, if you trust me, this is the value point that I need in order to make a livable wage. I would never charge more than was appropriate. And if you trust that, then you have to trust what I'm saying. And if you don't trust me, I understand, but I cannot groom your pets who are, I wouldn't say bratty, I would say that are unpredictable, right? I can't groom your pets if they're unpredictable and you don't trust me. That's a recipe for disaster. We need to be able to trust each other in the partnership of taking care of Fluffy and Mitzi. If we can't trust each other, then how exactly are we supposed to have a 10-year commitment of me taking care of your pets? Right? And that's part of it. It's a good question. So Jamie says, is it Reasonable to raise prices, but not all of them. Say raise prices for everyone who's not. It's always reasonable to raise prices. So, okay, so let me put it this way. There are very few of you guys who are unreasonable. I don't know many groomers. I know some of you guys are like, people are this, people are that. I don't meet many groomers who are like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to raise my prices 300%. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Most of you guys are worried. Now, is it a choice to raise everyone over 4 weeks? Absolutely. I think your 4 weeks should be your best price. I think 4 weeks should be, this is my goal price. Anybody above that, my dad used to call it stupid tax. So my dad used to do appliance repair, and he would add what he would call stupid tax to anyone who was unreasonable. Ironically, he hated dogs, and he hated when the dogs would come hang out with him. I know, I think I am God's punishment to him. Poor guy. But, I think that we're saying, listen, as a professional, your dog should be groomed every 4 weeks. Now, if you want to try to save money over 4 weeks, then I'm going to make it not possible. So that's where I love, and for easy math, because it's 8:00 at night, I like to see every 4 weeks, it's $100. Again, you can insert whatever price point, but easy math, $100 every 4 weeks. If you want it to be 6 weeks, that's fine. Now it's $150. If you'd like to make it 8 weeks, not a problem. It's $200. Anything past 8 weeks is a new client, and you need to reapply to be a client, and that's a consultation group. I'm telling you now, guys, if you do that, you've now created an incentive for everyone to be a 4-week client. And anyone who's not a 4-week client, you're not losing money. A lot of you guys don't realize, let's say, for instance, right, you need 5 dogs a day, 5 days a week. That's 25 dogs a week. 4 weeks a month-ish. That's 100 clients. You can either have 100 4-week clients or 150 6-week clients or 200 8-week clients. How many people do you want to reshuffle on your schedule? How many people do you want to call and make happy? I would rather have 100 4-week people to keep happy. The dogs are easier. They're happier. I was a dog trainer way before, right, I ever was a groomer. And the dogs that would be groomed 4 weeks or less are, let me tell you, going to New England, those dogs are so happy. The dogs getting groomed because they're used to it. It's a part of life. It's such a kindness. These dogs that get groomed, more than that, they're not used to it. They're not as happy. I'm sorry. I think that as an industry, we need to make 4 weeks the gold standard. So I think it's perfectly acceptable to say anyone over 4 weeks, or you can even, if someone comes on 8 weeks, it would be, hey, I have some great news. So we're going to move you to a 4-week schedule so you get the very best pricing. Now, if you want to stay in 8 weeks, I totally understand, but there will be a price adjustment for 8 weeks. So I'd love to get you the best bang for your buck, which is our 4-week price point. But I understand if you want to stay at 8. And the problem is what ends up happening is a lot of you guys will do like $100 for 4, $120 for 6, and $140 for 8. Well, now you've made my best price $108 for 8 weeks. You've made my choice easy for 8 weeks, because now it's significantly cheaper for me to get my dog done on a schedule you don't want. That's not good for them long term. And I know why we do this, because we don't want to have that confrontation. We don't want to have to say to them, hey, there's all these things. I don't want to do that. But if we put the dog first, if we put our mental sanity, if we put the people honoring us every 4 weeks, it's a huge game changer, I'm telling you. I know. Yeah, so she knows they are difficult. She watched me groom for 3 years. And that's what happens, right? When people, for better or for worse, right? It's never like, how many of you guys have ever had a dog who's like perfectly well behaved and is like a sweet angel baby moon pie, and the owner is batshit crazy. That doesn't really happen. It's because crazy people make their dogs crazy. Crazy people make their poor, lovely dogs crazy. Like the dog might get good with you, right? You might be able to retrain that dog to trust you and be like, all right, cool. When I come here, it's calm. I've definitely had dogs like that where, we had, like a dog who'd be like really anxious. Like we had this cockapoo named Lola, and she was just like, that energy of like stressed out. And you could see she would like come in the door and just be like, ah, thank God I left that crazy lady. Like it was so funny. And then she got 2 of them. And it was just so funny because these dogs would come in. I forget the other one's name. It was Lola and Lulu. And these poor dogs would like, and again, like that one, the first groom, this dog is like having a panic attack, and it comes in. It's like, dude, we have 40 dogs and we are calmer than your mother's house. Come hang out, So it was just so funny, but it's true. Like crazy people make their dogs crazy. And I swear to God, that's why I got out of dog training, because I was like, I can fix your dog. I can't fix you, because you want your dog to live in chaos and insanity and not lose its mind. I can't work miracles. I'd love to, but your dog, and it's tough too, right? It's tough when the dog, would come bored with me and be super chill with me and just like happy as a clam. And then they would go home and you'd be like, he's eating the couch. I'm like, did you walk him? Well, no. Like all these things. But we are at the top of the hour. If anyone has any last minute questions, I will answer them the best of my ability. If not, guys, then we will have to say adieu towards the end of the hour. I have this fantastic Cosmo that I haven't really had any of. It was so good. I'm going to get off and start talking about that. So let's talk about me selling stuff, because that's the way this goes, right? I give you information, I drink, and I talk about the things I sell. And by the way, guys, you never have to buy anything from me. You never have to buy anything. If you are not in a place to invest in my business, don't ever feel like there's anything wrong with that. I have over 200 hours on my YouTube. I have my podcast. I now speak internationally, which is amazing. We're going to trade shows. We're here to support the industry. I do okay. Okay. I'd love it if you buy my stuff. If it calls to you, great. If not, don't worry. Enjoy the stuff. I will say that if you know any of my students and they've taken my information, it's worth the money. So we are going to be doing a price increase masterclass live. Now, we have not done a live that was not members only in almost a year. So what it is going to be is it's going to be a 6-week class. We're going to go live Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern starting October 19th. And it's about an hour and a half. It's about an hour worth of content and then about 30 minutes up to an hour worth of Q&A. So if you guys have questions right after the class, we're going to be able to answer them live. You're going to get the recording all the way through January. So you have access to those 6 modules through the end of January. And that is for only $500. Now, that it does not include the past classes. That does not include access to it forever. But it's a damn good deal. It is a damn good deal. And I think a lot of you guys could use the help learning how to raise your prices, figure out what your price should be, figure out what is special about your business so that we can start adding and layering that value. I think it's one of my favorite. It really is the class that everyone should take. If people ask me, what class should I take? I'm like, have you taken the price increase masterclass? If you haven't, it's life-changing. So we're going to be doing that live. We're going to be trying that out as a live only. Normally when you buy it, it's self-study. We're going to try it out as a live only. With that, you're also going to get a bonus of the membership. So you're going to get access to our group coaching. You're going to get access to the business workshop library and a couple of those goodies. So we're going to be doing that. If you go to savvygroomer.com, oh God, if I have, hang on, savvygroomer.com, I think this actually goes to it. Let me see. Let me try out this fancy thing, right? This QR code. How cool is that? Boop. Yeah, fancy. Goes right to it. Boop. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And that goes to the sales page. It talks about the self-study. You can also go right to the live, or it talks directly about the live. I'm really proud of what Savvy Groomer is doing and what we've done. I think that we're going to continue to grow, and I really honor all of my students. You guys know that in the most loving of ways that I'm a hot mess express, and you know that I'm doing my very best, and you know that as we're growing, we're going to be adding things and figuring them out. And I'm really excited to be able to be going to trade shows, to be able to see you guys. It's really been, I know I sound like, but it's really amazing to be able to see you guys in person. I have never hugged more people in my life. It's really been a treat to listen to you guys. I'd love for us to do some student interviews. We're going to be doing so much. And if you guys have just found me, don't worry. There's literally 200 hours on YouTube for free. My podcast. And if you're looking to start with something that's paid, the Business Workshop Library is only $50 a month. And there's over, I want to say over 25 classes in there. And those are 1-hour workshops. They're 1 hours of what is this and how do I solve it? Master classes are 6+ hours of content. So if you haven't already, guys, join my free Facebook group, Savvy Pet Pros. I generally add new members about once a week, and I answer questions in there. And then if you want direct access to me, you want to join the membership where we have a paid Facebook group. We have a monthly Q&A just like this, but much better because you get to actually talk to me directly and get specific things. And then, of course, the Business Workshop Library. So lots of ways of working with me or just being here and growing. The most important thing is for you guys to choose to grow and be your best self. And I know it's not always the easiest thing to do. It's hard, man. It's hard to be a groomer and do all of this. So keep up the good work. All right, everyone, I'm going to love you and leave you. And as always, everyone, happy grooming. Yeah.